Hello, we're glad to have you join us on the news on NTA International. Remember, you can watch this news on Vision TV 247 and other media social platforms displayed on your screen. I'm Ruth Aguele, and my sign language interpreter is Precious Ozomina. Let's bring you the headlines. Nigeria reopened land and air borders with Niger Republic, lifts other sanctions. Central Bank of Nigeria allocates 2.15 million bags of fertilizer worth 100 billion naira to farmers to boost food security. And Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board warns parents against enrolling minors for Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. The Federal Executive Council is assuring Nigerians, particularly the affected families, that security agencies with specific instructions from the President are working assiduously towards the rescue of the recent kidnapped victims across some states in the country. We'll bring you details in subsequent bulletin or in the cast of the bulletin. But on to other issues, still from FEC, we hear that 17 newly appointed commissioners for the National Population Commission have been sworn in. The new commissioners swore to take their respective offices. Now, this was before the commencement of this week's meeting of the Federal Executive Council chaired by President Bola Tinubu. The 17 commissioners are from Abia, Adamawa, Anambra, Borno, Cross River, Delta State. They also include commissioners from Ebonyi, Edo, Enugu, Gombe, Imo, and Kaduna states. Others are from Kano, Kogi, Plateau, Rivers, and Taraba states. Chairman of the NPC, Nasir Kwara, who appreciated the President for the appointments, believes this will enhance the deliverability of the Commission's task.
It actually positions us very well in the preparation of the census, because you cannot, it's a national thing, so we have to be in every state of the federation preparing for the census. If you don't have a commissioner from that state, the pace of preparation for the census will slow down, because the director in the state alone cannot handle that. It needs a commissioner to really support him.
President Bola Tinubu has directed the opening of Nigeria's land and air borders with the Republic of Niger and the lifting of other sanctions against the country with immediate effect. This directive is in compliance with the decisions of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government at its extraordinary summit on February 24, 2024 in Abuja. ECOWAS leaders had agreed to lift economic sanctions against the Republic of Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea. The President has directed that the following sanctions imposed on the Republic of Niger be lifted immediately. If you recall, closure of land and air borders between Nigeria and Niger Republic, as well as ECOWAS no-fly zone on all commercial flights to and from Niger Republic. Suspension of all commercial and financial transactions between Nigeria and Niger, as well as freeze all service transactions, including utility services and electricity to Niger Republic, travel bans on government officials and their family members, among others. President Tinubu has also approved the lifting of financial and economic sanctions against the Republic of Guinea. Law enforcement agencies are undergoing a training in Abuja on ways to effectively manage climate-related conflicts for more harmonious co-living and improved livelihoods. Now, the training is sponsored by the European Union and organized by the Italian Shipping Academy Foundation and the Alumni Association of the National Defense College of Nigeria. Let's hear details from Charles Alpha.
The advent of climate change has disrupted livelihoods across Africa, displacing communities and farmlands, causing hunger, loss of biodiversity, as well as migration. This necessitated the International Conference on Climate Change, which is seen as the cause of conflicts in coastal regions and other communities in West Africa. The training of these law enforcement personnel in Abuja aims to enhance civil-military relations in communities and regions affected by climate impact.
Climate change could become a major contributing factor to conflicts by exacerbating the scarcity of important natural resources such as fresh water, with effects of triggering mass population migration.
Vice President Kashim Shettima, in a message to the conference, says climate crisis is a weighty responsibility that transcends borders and requires law enforcement agencies to leverage the opportunity of finding a way towards a sustainable future.
We cannot afford to turn a blind eye to the fact that climate change affects the most fragile regions of the world, and consequences are evident for law enforcement agencies.
The European Union and sponsor of the conference considers these efforts as an important aspect of conflict management and hopes to draw attention to the role law enforcement plays at operational and strategic levels in alleviating climate change.
This initiative is a testament to our collective commitment to addressing the pressing challenges of climate change and conflict in the Niger Delta and beyond.
We must acknowledge that Nigeria's policymakers and the law enforcement agencies have continued to render and play invaluable roles.
If global warming is slowed down, of course, our works, or what we do here as security agencies, will also be easier for us.
So far, 250 law enforcement personnel have been trained in the coastal region of the Niger Delta. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
A high court in Rwanda has stalled efforts by prominent opposition figure Victoria Ingabire to lift a ban on her running in July's presidential election. The verdict is seen as paving way for a fourth 7-year term for incumbent President Paul Kagame. Chukunonso Mwabweze reports.
The court on Wednesday held that opposition leader Victoria Ingabire is not eligible to run in the July presidential polls because of previous convictions for terrorism and genocide. The judge, while delivering the judgment, says the court finds Ingabire's request to have her conviction removed as unacceptable. She had asked the Kigali High Court to allow her contest the July 15 polls despite a legal ban on convicted candidates who have been jailed for 6 months or more. Ingabire, a fierce critic of Rwanda's long-ruling president Paul Kagame, spent 8 years in prison before a presidential pardon in 2018 that cut short her 15-year sentence. The opposition leader, while disagreeing with the court's decision, described the verdict as clearly political. According to Rwandan law, she will be allowed to appeal the ruling only after 2 years. The July presidential polls are widely expected to return Kagame to office for a fourth 7-year term, following the passage of a controversial constitution amendments. The 66-year-old has been at the helm of the country's affairs for decades, winning presidential elections in 2003, 2010 and 2017 with more than 90% of the votes. Kagame's only known challenger in the election is Green Party leader Frank Habeniza, who scored 0.45% of the vote in 2017. Chukunonso Mwabweze, NTN News.
The European Parliament this Wednesday gave final approval to the world's most far-reaching rules to govern artificial intelligence, including powerful systems like OpenAI's ChatGPT. Chukunonso Mwabweze again reports that the Parliament also passed the EU Media Freedom Law.
The AI Act focuses on higher-risk uses of the technology by the private and public sector, with tougher obligations for providers, stricter transparency rules for the most powerful models like ChatGPT, and outright ban on tools considered too dangerous. Senior European Union officials say the rules first proposed in 2021 will protect citizens from the risks, while also fostering innovation on the continent. The text, was passed with support from 523 EU lawmakers, while 46 voted against. The EU's 27 states are expected to endorse the law in April before publication in the bloc's official journal in May or June.
With the final step that will take place in Council soon, the law will become a law of the European Union, the first regulation in the world that is putting a clear path towards a safe and human-centric development of AI.
At the same time, enhance as much as we can the protection that we thought was imperative to guarantee our citizens and to guarantee our societies that they can actually trust this technology, they can trust the uptake of technology in our lives in a way that does not harm our human interests.
Brussels has been calling for the passage of the new rules since OpenAI's Microsoft-backed Chatpic arrived on the scene in late 2022, unleashing a global AI race. Rules governing AI models like Chatpic will enter into force 12 months after the law becomes official, while companies must comply with most of other provisions in 2 years. The EU's rules, known as the AI Act, take a risk-based approach. The riskier the system, the tougher the requirements, has outright bans on AI tools deemed to carry the most threats. Violations could attract fines ranging from 7.5 million to 35 million euros depending on the type of infringement and the firm's size. EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen held the vote in her official X page, saying the initiative will benefit Europe's fantastic pool of talents and set a blueprint for trustworthy AI throughout the world. Meanwhile, the EU is set to better protect journalists from political interference under an unprecedented media freedom law adopted by the European Parliament on Wednesday. The legislation, backed in a vote by 464 EU lawmakers, with 92 against and 65 abstaining, also enshrines editorial independence and seeks to improve transparency on media ownership. NTN News.
The European Commission has allocated 20 million euros in humanitarian aid to Haiti, where unprecedented levels of gang violence are dramatically increasing humanitarian needs countrywide for civilians. The funding will help humanitarian partners to address the most urgent needs of the population in terms of protection, food assistance, nutrition, water and sanitation, and healthcare. A specific allocation will support education in emergencies so children can still receive schooling despite the ongoing crisis. Commissioner for Crisis Management, Janice Lernasik, said EU cannot remain indifferent as the humanitarian situation in Haiti sharply deteriorates. This new EU funding will help partners working in the field to provide urgent assistance to the most vulnerable populations. With over 500 million euros allocated since 1994, Haiti is the main recipient of EU humanitarian aid in Latin America and the Caribbean. The EU has provided humanitarian aid to victims of major crises in Haiti, including for the current humanitarian needs resulting from local violence, the effects of the 2021 earthquake, the COVID-19 pandemic, food shortages, and malnutrition in recent years. The deadly H5N1 bird flu virus has spread more aggressively than ever before in wild birds and marine mammals since it was reported in South America. That was in 2022. Interviews with 8 scientists indicate that cases of H5N1 are raising the risk of it evolving into a bigger threat to humans. Reports say more immediate concern is that the disease, once largely confined to bird species, appears to be spreading between mammals, and to confirm mammal-to-mammal transmission, scientists would need to test infections in live mammals. This strain has killed a handful of dolphins in Chile and Peru, some 50,000 seals and sea lions along the coast, and at least 500,000 birds region-wide. A virologist at St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, Richard Webby, said it is hard to explain some of these large infections. Scientists, however, say the strain has shown up in dozens of bird species, including some migrating species, which can spread it beyond the region. And back home, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, has warned parents against enrolling minors for Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. JAM Registrar Professor Ishaq Oloyede issues the caution while reacting to a suit filed by Mrs. Ifeanyi Eke over alleged inappropriate text messages sent to her 15-year-old daughter during the course of her registration. The plaintiff had filed a 100 million suit against JAM and 3 others before a federal high court in Lagos over alleged unsolicited and inappropriate text messages sent to her 15-year-old daughter. But Oloyede said JAM is ready to meet with the woman, maintaining that the sender of the message was not its staff. JAM has since reported the incident to security agencies for appropriate action. Let's take a break. We'll be back shortly.
Nigerian Television Authority NTA, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria FRCN, and Voice of Nigeria VON cordially invite the general public to its 18th annual Ramadan lecture. Topic: Family Dynamics, Rights and Obligations from the Islamic Perspective. Guest lecturer Professor Ilyas Usman Ona, Department of Arabic, Nasarawa State University. Chairman of the occasion, His Royal Highness Honorable Justice Mohammed Sidi Bagi I, Emir of Lafiam Baribari. Special guest of honor Mohammed Idris, Minister of Information and National Orientation. Royal Father of the Day, His Highness Malang Ahmad Nuhu Bamali, Emir of Zazzau. Chief Host, His Excellency Malang Ubasani, the Executive Governor, Kaduna State. Hosts Malang Salihu Abdul Hamid Dembos, Director General NTA. Dr. Muhammad Bulama, Director General FRCN. Malang Jibril Baba Ndachi, Director General VON. Venue, Lumana Multipurpose Center, River Close, off Jabi Road East, off Sultan Road, Kaduna. Date 23rd March 2024. Time 9 a.m. Inshallah. For partnership, advert placement or sponsorship, call 080-3298-9963. Announcer, Organizing Committee.
Good to have you back. A state-of-the-art information and communication technology hub that will accelerate digital literacy and digital economy as well as bridge the gender gap in ICT has been inaugurated. Wife of the Chief of Staff to the President, Salamatu Bajabiamila, says the digital technology hub handed over to the center is the brainchild of the Renewed Hope initiative of the nation's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, in partnership with NITDA. Ngozi Technical reports.
National Information Technology Development Agency, commissioned by Her Excellency Senator Oluremi Tinubu.
Opening of the ICT hub, duly equipped with modern digital technology devices that can now be accessed by residents of the Federal Capital Territory, especially women. Even the physically challenged are in on this, as demonstrated for the First Lady's representative, whose smiles of approval indicates women's readiness to fully participate in digital revolution of the 21st century.
For quest for national development, we must recognize the indispensable role of technology in advancing gender equity. By ensuring our women's full participation in the digital revolution through access to technology, we can unlock the potential that will enable them contribute meaningfully to economic growth, innovation, and social progress towards our nation's greater prosperity.
She noted that similar inauguration is simultaneously carried out in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. The Director General of the Center, represented by the Director of Human Resources and the representative of the DG NITDA, applauded the initiative.
The provision of Digital Economic Center to Maryam Babangida National Center for Women Development is timely, as it will boost our capacity to reach out to more women.
Each center that we give an intervention like this, the center will work and sustain the center.
The DG assured proper utilization of the facility to enrich the digital knowledge of women and girls, as well as other Nigerians. Ngozi Technical, NTA News.
As part of efforts to boost food production and stabilize prices, the Central Bank of Nigeria says it is allocating 2.15 million bags of fertilizer worth 100 billion naira to the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security for onward distribution to farmers. Musa Abubakar reports that Central Bank Governor Olayemi Kadoso disclosed this at a meeting with the Minister of Agriculture in Abuja.
It's trying times for most people in the country as price of food and household goods continue to rise. Food inflation rate in January 2024 had increased to 35.41% on a year-on-year basis, 11.10% points higher compared to the rate recorded same period of 2023. This concern is shared by the Central Bank of Nigeria as the monetary authority in charge of price stability. To remedy this, the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and his team are here at the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security to support farmers nationwide with fertilizer.
In alignment with our strategic shift towards focusing on our fundamental mandate, the CBN has veered away from direct quasi-fiscal interventions and transitioned towards leveraging conventional monetary policy tools for executing monetary policies effectively.
And it will, I assure you, that it will be judiciously used and will deliver it to the last mile, to the intended persons, to the intended farmers, where they can reap the benefits of this huge gesture, and by in turn to cultivate and produce more that will stem the galloping food inflation that is affecting our country.
We really want to be sure that those who own land and are ready to go to farm are the ones that should be taking the benefit, because that is when the value of whatever we are doing will come home to support the goal that we have set.
Finally, the handshake between the monetary and fiscal authorities is in place as the Apex Bank remained resolute in its determination to achieve price stability in the country. In Abuja, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
The Federal Housing Authority has promised affordable mass housing for Nigerians and foreigners on tourism to Nigeria. This came to the fore during a courtesy visit paid on the agency by the Minister of Tourism, Lola Ade John, in Abuja. Let's hear from Francis Odojo.
The visit of the Minister of Tourism in company of staff of the ministry was brief, but led to a major collaborative plans of developing tourism and in the process provide decent and affordable housing to tourists and investors who in turn contribute to the GDP of the nation.
What we were thinking of was in our tourism space, how we are going to accommodate or find accommodation for inbound tourists, especially those that want to have slightly longer stay, and also for our diaspora tourists. You know, we want to ensure that they are comfortably accommodated.
While giving his assurances, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Federal Housing Authority, Oyetunde Ojo, said the agency, in tune with its supervising Ministry of Housing, had already put in place a workable plan towards solving challenges within the housing sector.
You're talking about a place where you are inviting diasporans, not just the ones we have, a place where we are inviting diasporans. We want them to feel at home. So we can assure you on our own side that we've put up this plan and we manage.
The FHA Chief Executive hinted that all category of persons will be provided easy access to own houses through various housing developers already engaged in achieving the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President. In Abuja, Francis Sudojo, NTA News.
President Bola Tinubu has reassured persons with disabilities of his administration's commitment to improving their standard of living across the country. The special advisor to the president on special needs, Ahmed Issa, gave the assurance while distributing palliatives to the vulnerable in Abuja. He said President Tinubu is mindful of the hardship persons with disabilities face, and the federal government is working assiduously through collaborations to stem the tide.
New Hope agenda is all talking about agenda for education for persons with disability, agenda for good health, agenda for agriculture, agenda for different empowerment. If you look at the New Hope agenda, it's all inclusive of regard to issue of persons with disability.
Halimat Adenike Tejiosho, who collaborated with the Office of the Special Advisor to the President in the provision of the palliatives, called on people who are wealthy to reach out to the poor and vulnerable, especially in this holy month of Ramadan.
The homeless, the sick, the persons with disability deserve our kindness, support and understanding. It is our duty to ensure that they are treated with dignity and respect, and that their voices are heard and valued.
Leaders of different disability groups and beneficiaries commended the gesture and called on the President to appoint a minister who shares the pains and plight of the vulnerable to fill the vacant position in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. Muslims Community of the NTA headquarters has donated food items to some internally displaced persons taking shelter in Malaysian Garden, Apo village in Abuja. Usman Zubair reports that this gesture has become a yearly tradition.
Ramadan fast is not just about abstaining from food and drinks only, but also a time to show love and empathy to the less privileged. The annual humanitarian gesture by Muslim Community of NTA headquarters in collaboration with the Board of Trustees under the leadership of the Director General Comrade Abdul Hamid Dembos.
So these are brothers and sisters here, the spirit of the Ramadan period that we are in, to cushion the effect of and then to alleviate their suffering in this place they found themselves.
Receiving the items, Chairman Malaysian Garden IDP camp, Chakule Lawal, thanked the Muslim Community of NTA headquarters for the donations over the years and assured that it will be put to good use.
In the month of Ramadan, you are the first people who first donate relief materials or food items to the IDP of Malaysian Garden. We really appreciate your efforts. We really appreciate you. We thank you a lot.
We really appreciate your efforts. Every year, you remember us with this kind gesture.
This year's outreach is the fate of such. Swansboro, NTA News.
All right, let's just check out our weather prospect for Thursday. That concludes the news. Thank you for your time. I'm Ruth Aguele. My sign language interpreter is Precious Ozamina. Have a good evening.